Hi guys, today I'm here with a very highly requested video of mine. This is actually my skincare routine, and it's not also my skincare, it's not only my skincare routine, it's also the routine that I always recommend for all of my brides and for anybody who definitely asks me my advice on skincare on the go. We are going to firstly start off by talking about face washes. Now, I have to, before we get into all of that, I have to, basically explain to you guys, because again, I want to give an in-depth, detailed video about, why I'm recommending the things that I am. Now, obviously, disclaimer here, I am not a dermatologist. I am not qualified as an esthetician. What I've learned is from being to the dermatologist myself, from taking my son to the dermatologist, from listening to other people talk about their experiences. I have a great friend of mine who's actually an esthetician, and I have another friend who's also studying to become a dermatologist herself, and of course, just generally reading and asking a lot of questions about products. One thing I want to get sorted out here is that whole issue with acne. Now, those are one of the major issues I think with a lot of people. It's acne. And a lot of people, typically what I do is I ask people, what are you using on your face? What is it? What products are you using? What face washes are you using? Whatever. And almost always, I think I would say maybe about 75% of the time, most people are using the wrong face wash. And that's where it starts going downhill from there. And when I say wrong face wash, I mean, we'll get into like skin type and stuff afterwards, but what I wanted to talk about specifically here is medicated face washes. I mean, unless something has been prescribed by a dermatologist for you, it is not a good idea to use a face wash that is geared towards acne. And when I say geared towards acne, I mean anything that contains salicylic acid or anything that contains benzoyl peroxide. And the reason why I say this is because, I mean, I'm sure that you've all been to the doctor and you've heard, him say, well, okay, I'm sure that you've heard him say that antibiotics are always the last course of action. And there's a reason for that, because your body usually develops immunity to it. And if you take it for too long, what's going to happen is that you're going to require more and more strength of that particular antibiotic to be rendered useful. And it's the exact same thing with salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide. When you overuse them, your skin begins to get used to them. And I'm sure, I mean, it's not just me talking crap. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of you can attest to that, where you purchase a face wash, seems to be working amazingly until maybe about 2 or 3 weeks passes, and then it's like, well, it stops working. And that's not because the face wash itself is bad, it's because your skin has grown used to that strength of the salicylic acid or whatever topical or medical agent that is in that is supposed to be helping the acne. Instead, what I tend to prefer, what I tend to suggest to people is to use a face wash that has absolutely nothing, meaning something that's hypoallergenic, that's non-comedogenic, and that does not have any specific treatment. So no age, nothing, no acne medication or anything inside of there. You just want something that's absolutely basic, okay? And the one that I definitely always recommend for this is the Cetaphil, and this is actually a daily facial cleanser. So this is specifically for the face, and I find that this works amazingly well. I use this every single day, and even when I use this, my skin is never dry. And a lot of people tend to think, oh gosh, this is not going to work for me, it's too basic, it is my skin is really oily, so I need something that's harsh. Absolutely not. This is so gentle that it just cleans up the face without disturbing the pH balance of your skin, so that you are not oily, you're not overly dry, it doesn't irritate your skin, so it would not cause like breakouts and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend this. In fact, I go through a bottle of this every single month. It is amazing. I will definitely recommend this, and in fact, I think some of the best dermatologists in Trinidad, you will go and you will spend $500 and get a prescription for a Cetaphil face wash, when you can go to Pennywise or Superfarm and actually pick it up yourself. So save yourself that money and just give it a try. It's just 1 month, and at the end of the day, I'm sure that you have a whole shelf load of products there that you've used and you have just not liked or have stopped working for you. Why not give something a try? And if it doesn't work for you, you look for something else. So this is definitely what I use. So the first thing that we're starting off with is the Cetaphil Daily Cleanser, and this is for normal to oily skin. It will work with every single skin type because it does not have any fragrances, any dyes. It is a gel cleanser, so it works with all skin types. It will not make you oily, shiny, greasy, or dry. And in fact, it is the #1 dermatologist recommended face wash that we have in the country. So definitely give this a try. Another thing that I definitely recommend right after you do your cleanser is to moisturize. Now at this point in time, this is where people usually piss me off by asking me, what about toner? Let me tell you something. Toner was developed back in the day as a way of taking residue that, let's just say you washed your face with your cleanser, and back in the day they didn't have any cleansers and fancy stuff like that. What we actually had was basically soap, basically skin soap. And what would happen is that sometimes soap would not get like the makeup off and whatever. And I mean back then we had a lot of heavy makeup too, what we call pancake makeup. Of course our formulas have changed over the years. They become more silicone based, more water based, so they're much more gentler on the skin, and we don't require something as harsh to remove them. They usually wash pretty clean. But with the innovation of, let's say, face washes and better skin care, they never really phased out that whole toner thing. And the whole purpose behind that toner thing is that when you would use like a regular face soap that you would use like all over the rest of your body, just a general soap, it never did such a good job of really taking off that heavy sort of pan makeup that the people of yesteryear would have worn. So that they developed toner, which is an alcohol-based product, to sort of remove the residue and supposedly close your pores after you cleanse, because they're saying that your pores are open when you cleanse and you're supposed to close them back, otherwise you're going to break out. That is a whole pack of crap. I can tell you that unless you've had like a facial, or unless you've done like something that's super exfoliating or microdermabrasion, or you've done like a peel or something like that, like a chemical peel, those are the only ways that your pores are generally open. If you have open pores, they're going to remain open. You're not going to close them. The main thing that you need to understand is that most toners are alcohol based. Even if they say that they're alcohol free, regardless of what they say, even if they don't contain alcohol, they generally contain witch hazel, which reacts the exact same way that alcohol does, by drying your skin out. A lot of people with oily skin also tell me, I use a toner because it helps to control the oil. Actually, no. Toners and things like that, like witch hazel toners, any sort of harsh abrasive things like that that are alcohol based, they tend to strip your skin of that protective pH layer, and your skin responds to that because it's now unprotected, and it starts freaking out and it starts saying, hey, we got to make more oil, produce more sebum, which is what we call the oil. It's a chemical name for sebum, or I should say the biological or the medical term for oil that what we call oil on our skin is called sebum. Your skin starts freaking out and it starts saying to its pores, hey, we are unprotected, let's produce more sebum and let's get a nice layer of protection between ourselves and the environment. And this is how you can actually make yourself even more oily. So the people we have who are washing their faces 20 times a day because they think it's going to help with their oiliness, you are making it worse. The people that we have who are using toners and alcohol and witch hazel and you name it to try and close their pores or take away your oiliness, you are making it worse by stripping your skin of that natural protection that it has, and it's going to just produce more oil. And that more sebum, that sebum production, the increase in sebum production, it causes breakouts, it causes you to obviously look like an oil slick, and that is actually what contributes to your pores being clogged and getting things like blackheads and whiteheads and all that fun stuff. So definitely you want to stay away from anything like that. So right after cleansing, usually what I would say is to moisturize. Again, if you don't have something that was prescribed to you by a dermatologist, these are your best bets. And yes, it looks like I'm running a Cetaphil ad today because everything I'm holding is Cetaphil. This I use for daytime, and this is the Cetaphil Daily Facial Moisturizer SPF 15. They do have one, I think, with a higher SPF, which I'm going to get once this runs out. But I was not aware of it when I purchased this, that it was actually available in a higher strength. So if you can get the SPF 50, which is a little bit more, I would definitely recommend it. But definitely for daytime, you want to use something that contains SPF. And just as a little side note, SPF stands for Sun Protection Factor. So here we have Sun Protection Factor 15. And you want to look for something that obviously has UVA and UVB protection. And UVA simply stands for ultraviolet aging, and UVB stands for ultraviolet burning. And again, UVA, ultraviolet aging, those are the light rays from the sun that are actually directly responsible for almost 90% of the wrinkles that we will have over our lifetime. It has nothing to do with age. Scientists have actually proved that a lot of the wrinkles, over 90% of the wrinkles that we have, are because of, improper sun exposure. So again, it's really, really important, more important than you think it is. It's not just a white people thing. I definitely recommend it for all ethnicities and all skin types. Another thing that you want to be aware of is the number. You want at least SPF 15 on your face. Anything higher is obviously much better. And what this number really stands for, it's two things. 15 simply stands for the percentage of protection that you do have. So you're protected from 15% of the sun's rays. And then 15 also stands, every SPF of 5 gives you roughly about 30 minutes of sun protection. So SPF 15 will be able to give you, that's roughly about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on the climate and like how much you sweat and stuff like that. It'll give you about 1.5 hours of protection in direct sunlight until you have to reapply. So obviously the higher this number is the better for you. It's the less you actually have to reapply. Of course, like all SPFs, once you get wet, or let's just say you shower, you do need to reapply this because they are not they're water resistant to an extent, but they're not waterproof. So again, for daytime, I can't live without this. And this being a facial moisturizer, it's not very greasy. It's very light. You do not need a little bit. It's literally, think of a pigeon peas or like a pea. It's literally half the size of a pea, and I dot that on my high points, especially like my nose, my forehead, my cheeks, my chin. Anything that protrudes from the face will tend to burn much more quickly. So I do that there, and then whatever I have left, I sort of smooth it out over the entire face, and that's what I do. And then this one, which is now this is not specifically a face moisturizer, I just have to put that out there. This is actually one of the regular moisturizers, and you can use this literally all over your entire body, and it's non-comedogenic and it does not clog your pores. Again, no scent or anything. This is the Daily Advanced Ultra Hydrating Lotion for dry, sensitive skin. Now the thing about this is it's super, super rich, so do not go and use this during the day. Number 2, it does not contain any SPF, so it's perfect for nighttime. Now, regardless of if you are oily or regardless of if you are dry or normal skin, every single person needs moisturizer. It is a myth that people with oily skin do not need moisturizer, and it's going to do not need moisturizer and it's going to make you more oily. That is actually a very huge myth. In fact, once your skin is much more moisturized, it tends to be much more balanced. And a lot of the times you find that your oiliness actually decreases over time because your skin does not have to compensate for the lack of moisture by producing sebum, which, as we've known by now, is called oil. Okay, so this is what, because it's so thick, though it's not thick really, it's just rich, and you can feel this when you put this on. I usually do this at night. Again, on my bed head, I keep it there with a pack of wipes, and I definitely, I don't have an excuse. Even if I'm lazy to get up, wash my face, I use my baby wipes, wipe my face up, and I put this bad boy on. And let me tell you something. You see your fine little lines and the little open pores and the little smile lines and all of that. When you put this on at night and you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, your face is glowing. And this is actually one of the things that I definitely recommend all of my bridal clients to get, because this, a lot of them, especially with fine lines like around the mouth and like underneath the eyes, which is what we generally all have, regardless of age or skin type or ethnicity, we tend to have those. And it's because, again, these are moving parts, and once you have a moving part, you are going to get that sort of a friction and the skin stretching there, so we can't really get away from it. The unfortunate thing about it is, though, if you do not have enough moisture in your skin, this is more so for people with normal to dry skin, but even I've seen it on people who have oily skin as well too. Sometimes the makeup can tend to settle into these little fine lines, and usually fine lines are more pronounced on skin that's inadequately moisturized. So I find that, let's just say I do a trial with a bride, by the time the wedding day rolls around, I mean, providing that she does listen to me and she does this as a regimen, I can definitely tell a huge difference in her skin. Now you might be asking, There's another thing that I also use as well too. I have dry skin. I wouldn't say dry skin, I have combination skin, but it's more combination to dry. And there are times that my skin, when I've been particularly horrible to it, there are times that it's extremely dry, it's sometimes irritated. And what I use for that, when I need that little bit of an extra moisturizer, and it even gives you like a cooling effect, I use regular 100% aloe vera gel. And yes, this is the stuff we put on for sunburn, but this is exactly why we use it for sunburn. It's because it's super hydrating. So this is actually really, really good. You can put this underneath your makeup. It doesn't make you greasy at all, but it gives you like a nice, refreshing sort of feel. I use this at night when I really want like a really big moisture boost. I definitely use this. I don't use it too often though, because I think it's a little bit too rich sometimes, and a little bit much on the skin. I don't know any better way to explain that to you, but I use this maybe once every few weeks, or if I have a really big occasion that I have to go out for, I would use this the night before, and my skin is all ready and prepped and healthy and glowy and moisturized for my makeup that I would have to do. Now getting to the talk of acne. Again, once you don't have anything that you are using that was prescribed by a dermatologist, one of the better acne medications that I tend to prefer, now this is Clearasil, and this is what I usually tell my clients who ask me this. So what about if I get a pimple? I mean, nothing here that we've talked about so far is geared towards acne. And this is what I was told by one of the leading dermatologists. In fact, I've been to many dermatologists because as a teenager I suffered with it really badly. I had it on both my back and my face, and it was something that I struggled with a lot. And this is something, again, through trial and error, that I found without going to like the more stronger stuff like Accutane and you know, whatever it is. This is actually Clearasil Ultra, and this is a spot treatment. It's a rapid treatment. I think it's the 4 hours. It visibly reduces spot size and redness, and as little as 4 hours. It's a rapid action treatment cream. And basically what this product contains 10% benzoyl peroxide. And that's the main thing we want to get to here. Now you do have a lot of, getting back to that whole thing I was talking about earlier with benzoyl peroxide, we also have this thing called salicylic acid. Now both of them are used in the treatment of acne. However, I tend to prefer benzoyl peroxide for active acne, meaning acne that is, you know, those really ridiculous ones that wait till you have somewhere to go and then they pop up and they're like, hi, I want to go with you. You know, they're huge, they're red, they're sore, they're icky looking. Those are the ones that I call pustule acne. And they're the ones that usually are surface acne, meaning they protrude, they expel stuff on the outside. Yeah, so usually I find that benzoyl peroxide tends to be more effective for this type of acne, simply because benzoyl peroxide has it is a topical agent, and it tends to work. It is antibacterial, it is antiseptic, and it has a very much drying effect. So that's why it tends to reduce, it constricts the blood flow to that particular pimple, thereby helping that sort of, it helps the pimple to heal and to dry up in its spot. What's the difference? It targets the bacteria that causes the acne or the infection of that pimple, which is where we get that little white head kind of popping up that has the sort of pus. I'm sorry for being so gross. But when you have that little head that's popping up here and it has like the pus and stuff like that, bacteria is usually what gets into a clogged pore and causes that to happen. So what benzoyl peroxide does, because it is antiseptic and antibacterial, it tends to treat the actual bacteria that are causing it. And because it has a drying effect, it tends to constrict the skin, thereby reducing the size of the actual pimple. And I find this to be a much more effective treatment than salicylic acid. And salicylic acid, I mean, quite frankly, it's just aspirin. That is the chemical name for aspirin, salicylic acid. I mean, obviously it's in different formulas and different compounds compared to the regular aspirin that we take, but it's basically the same thing. And the way that salicylic acid works, it has its place. People who have what I call inner acne, or acne like blackheads and whiteheads, the ones that you know bother you around the nose, and the ones around the forehead, and they have that kind of little hard seed thing that kind of pops out, or the one with those little heads that are all black and shiny like little needle points all around the nose. salicylic acid tends to be much better at treating that type of acne, because what that does, the way that it combats acne is by actually resurfacing the skin. So what it does is it causes the skin to take off its top layer much more quickly, thereby kind of forcing your skin to create new skin cells. So that's the way that it works. And because of inner acne being so deep down and in clogged pores, basically they're inside the pore that has clogged and is sort of sealed off with the sebum and the little plug and all of that. What that does is it tends to dissolve the top of that plug, making that blackhead or that whitehead much more easier to deal with and to kind of remove. In addition to that, what I also do, and I do this literally every day, and I have pretty sensitive skin, but again, for people who are now starting off and you're not sure how you're going to react to it, I actually use this as well too. Now this is the Olay Pro X. This is the brush, and I got this at the pharmacy in the mall. I think it's Total Care Pharmacy, because I've been looking for it in Pennywise and Superfarm and I've never gotten it. It is a little bit pricey. I think I paid like $300 for it, but I was actually looking at purchasing a Clarisonic, which in the same drugstore I think was $1,200. And a girl on my BBM, actually, Candy, she recommended that I try this, and she said that she uses this, and it's very much similar to the one that Proactive gives you. So even if you're a Proactive subscriber, where you get monthly subscriptions from them, I would definitely say get one of these. And what this is basically like a beauty brush. The head pops off like this, so these brushes are replaceable, and the heads are pretty much inexpensive. Well, inexpensive I suppose for me, again, compared to the Clarisonic, which is $1,200. And the reason why I think I prefer this to the Clarisonic is because this rotates all the way. It's a 360 rotation, whereas the Clarisonic just sort of vibrates into place. And I think this works much better at clearing out pores and dead skin and dry, flaky, sort of dull skin. This, in addition to my face wash, which is what I do every single day. Now I only do it once a day, particularly after I wear makeup. This is the way that I get every single last bit of makeup out of my pores and off of my face, is I use a little bit of this and a little bit of this. You do not want to use this too often. I use it every day, but for starters, I would suggest using it maybe twice a week. It never does anything to me, but again, I would much rather you start off by using it maybe twice a week and see how your skin reacts to that. Of course, skip a day in between, so maybe like do it on Monday and maybe do it on Thursday and see how your skin reacts to that. And if it's okay, then maybe you can try adding some other days in there. But honestly, this is the fastest way. To get rid of dry, dead, dull skin. I use this, and literally it reduces the size of your pores because it causes your skin to turn over skin cells much more quickly. It reduces your blackheads, especially like around the nose area, and I tend to have open pores right in this area here, and if I'm not careful, they're clogged really easily. So this reduces the size of my pores, which obviously reduces the amount of blackheads and whiteheads that I get in this area. And it also just helps my skin to look much more healthy. It creates like a natural glow because you have these fresh, new, healthy skin cells coming through rather than the dull, dead, kind of ashy looking skin. Aside from that, I'm going to get into this other category, which is dealing with acne scarring. I have a lot of people who are recovering from acne, or let's just say you try this regimen and it starts to work for you and it takes care of your existing acne. This is another one of the major questions that I'm always asked. How do I deal with acne scarring? There are two ways that I suggest doing that. You use a topical agent, which is usually something that contains vitamin E. You can use bio oil, but be aware of bio oil. You don't want to slap that all over your face because it can clog your pores if you have open pores. So only do like little spot treatments on the areas, and then of course use this little bad boy, because as I said, this is going to cause your skin cell turnover to be much more. And what that's going to do is eventually, as the skin keeps renewing and renewing and renewing, and you keep buffing away that damaged skin, eventually that scar is going to lighten up until it eventually just goes completely away. If you think bio oil is maybe a little bit too much for you to purchase, then I would definitely recommend getting the Jameson vitamin E oil, or even get the vitamin E oil capsules. They work just as well, and you puncture a little capsule with a pin and you put it right on that area, and eventually it is going to start fading. You cannot expect any sort of big improvement overnight. It takes roughly about 6 months to see major improvement. So stick with it and keep with it, and it's going to get better. Okay, and I suppose that is about it for the skincare. If you guys have any more questions, or if I've left anything out, or maybe you wanted something specifically answered, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I will try my best to answer it as soon as I can. Other than that, if you have any questions about any of the products that I've talked about today, most of them are available, like all of the face washes and treatments and whatnot, they're available at Pennywise Superfarms, anywhere you can get basically cosmetics, drugstores, places like that. Again, I am from South, so for me the only place that I've seen this is in Gulf City, and that's Tropical Pharmacy, and that's the only place that I've seen this. They do carry brush head replacements. I believe it's 2 brush heads you get in a box for $50. Sorry, no, it's $100 for one replacement. This in itself, when you purchase it, it comes with the tool, this thingy here. It is battery operated and it is waterproof. And there are 2 different speeds on this here, as you can tell, hopefully. There's one to put it on and put it off, and as you can see, it does rotate. Hopefully you can see that it rotates. And then the second button down here actually changes the speed. So that is about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and I gave you some useful information, and you guys liked the advice that I have for you. And let me know if you try, let me know if it works, give me some feedback, okay? Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and please share with your friends on Facebook or anybody else that you think this information might be great with. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.